waiting and telling you I can't wait till they do a Puddle Justice trilogy.
This has been a conversation.
I've played Apollo Justice. I haven't played Dual Destinies or Spirit of Justice, so that'll be a first time for me. You haven't played any of these. And I happen to really, really, really like the nice place to start. What do you say?
Yay!
Here we go.
I gotta remember that you're recording so I can mind my pieces.
Well, you know. All right, ready for Turnabout Trump?
All right.
Showdown time. You lose. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him hard. Me? Please, the cop should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that.
It's the same cops.
Heck yeah! What I wouldn't do to see Eenie Meenie, or Meanie whatever her name is, just wave her arms back and forth at us. Alright, here we go. Panicked, palms sweaty, I can admit it. I'm nervous. Let's just make sure, sorry, I just want to make sure that, screen flashes, subtitles, tech. Like medium. Okay. I can admit it, I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Kitty, get off the table. I mean, you look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. That screeching noise, is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? I'm fine. I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. That explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. I overdid it again.
He does like the same thing Edgeworth does.
As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client.
So you're his partner?
Yeah, he's kind of like Mia, where he's kind of guiding you. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney, and today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him, no way. Whoa. Good morning. Cardiac arrest. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help? So, you're fine. I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me. Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney, and he's your friend, so why... You'll see. You can do it. Be confident.
He seems pretty happy for someone that's accused of murder.
I know. I'm really sorry this happened to you. I mean, it's time. Shall we? Yes, sir.
He's not exactly dressed for court either.
No, he looks all, I don't know, just slouched and
Chilling.
Okay, I need to focus. First trial, here comes justice. Yeah, I really do love this case. It's a great opening.
You know it?
I know this case.
Oh.
I played Apollo Justice before. But I haven't played 5 and 6, so... Court is now in session. Prosecution is ready. You love pain. The defense is, fine. I mean, ready, Your Honor. Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial? Yes, Your Honor, but I'm fine, really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Ahem, Mr. Gavin? Yes, Your Honor? I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always cede to his client's wishes, and my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice, but to entrust his case to this greenhorn, why? I do not exaggerate when I say you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine, but does he have cords of steel? Then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry we have to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Mr. Wright, how could this have happened? Did you know that was Phoenix Wright?
I did not.
I won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne? To think, I saw you enter this room a fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains! Ah, Winston Payne, subtle as ever, I see. Ahem. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him. Wham! On the head, smack, killed him cold. A customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Phoenix Wright, a pianist? This is the weapon that took the victim's life, a bottle of grape juice. Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. The court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently. The court record, right. I've heard of that. Use R1 to look at the evidence so far. Sure, why not? How long did I yearn for one of these? Just putting it on makes me feel ready. Smith's autopsy report. The time of death was around 2 a.m., April 17th. Death caused by a single blow to forehead. The sub-basement of the Borscht Bowl Club. Grape juice bottle used as the murder weapon. Bears the fingerprints of Mr. Wright. Grape juice. How long has it been since I drank grape juice? Apparently it's Mr. Wright's favorite drink. I wonder how well it goes with borscht. Bottle is completely empty. Whoops, sorry. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right, just use R1. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. So the victim was a customer at this restaurant, but just who was this, Shady Smith fellow? We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler. According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendant. That too is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime. If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing? That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean.
Piano.
As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in and of itself! Indeed, it appears our defendant has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, yet it was only that, a game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again? The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present and impress women. That'll be our first order of business here, then? To find out more about this fatal game of cards? Very well, defendant. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial. Here goes nothing. I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is. A game, and our... A pianist who can't play piano. Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Very well, the defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy, too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times, though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Should I ask? We know how to do it. No need for help here, sir. I think I've got this one covered. I think you'd better do more than think. You know it or you do not. I'm fine. The cords of steel are ready for battle. My weapons, press, and present. Find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies, lies. Phoenix Wright. As if Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Alright, so let's press. You can hardly play. Oh, I play sometimes when customers demand it. So I play them one song, that's usually all they want. Was that supposed to be a boast just now? The title of pianist is a mask, a respectable face I wear for the world at large. Then why are you really at the Borscht Bowl Club? My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. Oh, whoops. They pay you just to play poker? That would seem to be the case. I am a professional, after all. Bah, do I detect pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. What? I've played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. What? You see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once. Is that even possible? The room where we play in the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction. It has quite a history, actually. The Borscht Bolt Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. The black market? Silver screen nowadays. Suffice it to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. A smoky room, gambling hoods, you know? Just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table cutting deals, safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. The window does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. We play a game of poker with 2 decks. 2 decks of cards. A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. There's something else I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattered on the floor. Precisely, cards on the table, cards upon the floor, each one forming a complete deck. A crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we used 2 types of cards at the club. One deck of cards was red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker, you make 5-card hands. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Heh. Yes, a game of hands. This competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It was a simple game, after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment that the crime occurred, yet you claim no connection to the crime. Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. Arg, I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like made clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand, and I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well, the defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press, and I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon.
I thought we had his fingerprints on it.
Yeah, didn't we? Would you like to present?
Yeah?
So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon? This grape juice bottle, right? So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? He. Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. Ah ha ha. Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears and our case. But what about my cords of steel? Anyway, what's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant? Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove he did it. Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. Upside down? What does that mean? It means he was holding the bottle inverted, and there can only be one reason for that. Yes. To brain someone with the bottle. Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worse. Oh? I see no problem, Justice. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not favorite cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported? Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright. But still, that... Really? Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at the diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs to this hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. I see, and this is the phone that made the call. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose, yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Nice save, Mr. Gavin. I'd better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about... What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this? That's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness. He. You're as good as they say you are. So someone else was in the room the night of the crime. That must mean they witnessed the crime. Everything up till now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? Very well, the prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. The witness will state her name and profession. Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness? I surmise she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. So I used a little hair gel. Relax, people. Have no fear. If any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off. You are sure? I swear it on my gavel. Please come out. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you are sure, it is okay. Ahem, now the prosecution... Wait a minute. Would the prosecution care to explain the witnesses or paraphernalia? Yes, she is a professional, Your Honor. These are merely the tools of her trade. And that would be... My name is Olga Orley. I am employed as waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht at his naming restaurant, but I also perform, how it is said, other service. I take it one of those other services is taking the customer's photos? Like, for example, this one. That's the defendant. Indeed, on the night of the murder, man in white hat is one who has gone kaput. Indeed, that is the victim. Order, order. This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It is same way as I drop cold bowls of borscht on laps of customers casually. Then the court will casually accept this new evidence. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room, the hideout we call it. Excuse me, the hideout? It is room where famous gangster Bad Guy was arrested. Is room where murder took place. What? Your look of utter surprise, it is lovely. I will post my courtroom door later for you. ... Photos will be numbered, and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orley, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold, both players played with hats on, The victim, he plays full time with his hand on locket at his neck. Then, last hand is done, but something terrible has happened, That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death.
Strangling?
Yeah, what the heck?
He...
Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith. That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice. Maybe you can come up with a... Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor either. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. The hand and chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith. Chips, you say? Yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and chips are the spoils. I know that. After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I think he means poker face. Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness. So, I feel like the strangling is a contradiction, but I'm curious about the locket. His locket? I believe it was a good luck charm, He gripped it many times as he played that night. Yes, he must have felt as though it might carry him to the moon and the stars. Though, if it were small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much lift. The defense would like a clarification. This is a locket we're talking about. I mean, a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket? Of course, I knew that. It was probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. That's why she called it that. No, a locket's a locket. It doesn't matter what shape. It's considered bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding? So what happened next? Okay. Alright, hold up a minute. Yeah, that's gotta be it.
Well, I also want to know if he actually has a locket on his neck, because Phoenix Wright has a locket on his neck right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, look at the picture of the guy at the table. No locket.
No
now
locket.
Look at him while Phoenix Wright's talking to him.
Lockets.
He's got the locket, and he's wearing that locket now.
Right.
So... and then also the bottle.
Yeah. Well, let's press on this first. But the defendant would never do such a thing. Eek! I can't say I've ever heard the defense try this tactic. If possible, please refrain from embarrassing me. So why would anyone do something like this over a game of poker? Perhaps it is because the defendant has lost game? Yes, a crushing defeat. A man undefeated. So it seems... So it always is with men like him. Winners make sore losers. Oh, how the mighty fall. I'm gonna take this car really fast, and I'll be back, okay?
That's probably better because you wouldn't know.
So, I have to take a phone call. Sorry about that, but apparently my girlfriend was leaving commentary on the phone, but she forgot to unmute it.
I said something to the effect of, he said he'd be real quick, but he doesn't do anything real quick, so...
And she is right about that.
That's why real quick was like over 15 minutes.
Really? It was 15 minutes?
Probably.
Eek. Sorry. Go ahead. I believe you know what you need to do. Okay, this is the contradiction. Right, sir, leave it to me. There are only 3 people in the room at the time of the murder. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, I've got you now, Orly. Alright, so... Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. Ah, normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean, this report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Miss Orly, really now, did you witness the crime? Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He was still wearing his hat and everything. Yes, it is. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during his investigation. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? This head certainly was hit. Photo of forehead, hat removed during investigation. But I've seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged at victim, his neck. Oh, really, Miss Orley? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice, I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's only one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination. You know what I bet troubles him?
The necklace.
Yep. There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. He hit him with a bottle. So... let's press again. You didn't say anything about hitting before. So sorry, I must be forgetting this, Da. Witness, you will take greater care with your testimony. Oh, Da, I'm sorry, Your Honor. And that clears up the discrepancy with the autopsy report, I believe. The defendant made to strangle his victim, then changed his mind, and chose a simpler, blunter means to do the job. Yes, that sums it up quite nicely. So he strangled him, then hit him? Something's fishy about all this. Let's press her again. Everything's the same. Okay. Wanted to make sure pressing again didn't do anything. Okay, so... I think it clearly shows no locket. You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you are thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean... The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Ah, Irk? Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say. Yes? I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh? You mean this? Yes, it's a locket, with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture of the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy that this is just a coincidence? Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game? Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost badly. Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and defendant. Da. He's like Octavian's cousin. There she is. The game began with 3,500 point-in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, God, was victim. For last hand, defendant played with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and... Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. Ah, how many times have I heard these words? I'd done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I'd done. A common tale, but true. Me thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright has said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. The game. Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used? No, not special. Usual game, usual rules. If each man began with 3,500 points, then the total would be, exactly 6. No, 7,000 points. Please, this isn't calculus, not even long division. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Of course. Something fishy with these chips. Should I press harder?
What was fishy with the chips?
Well, just the way she reacted, I think. Let's press. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips? Explain? What is there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips. Not a chip off the old block, not a motorcycle cop, not a... Thanks. Now that I've pressed her, I'd better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even? Yet, as I've been saying before, it was a game, not gambling. Hard perhaps for capitalists to understand. Two types of chip, 100 points chip and 1,000 points chip. It is not money, duh. Justice, sir, don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness to add to her testimony? What do you think, babe? Yeah. Yeah, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this. Very well, witness, if you would be so kind. Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other kind is worth 1,000. Two kinds in all. I think I know where they're getting at with this. So, if the big chips are worth 1,000, this is going to be way more than 7,000 points. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 in red. Yeah. So which means...
15,000.
Yeah. So, but I think what it is Wright wasn't losing. He has 4,100 points. Other guy has, like, whatever the subtraction part is.
9,200.
Yeah, or 2,900, yeah. So, yeah.
Aren't the big ones 1,000?
Well, she never said the big one were 1,000, but we're assuming it is. So, you're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure. It seems the new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at this picture is enough to tell you who won if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals? Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips, and the combined total value of the chips was 7,000. Yes, if my calculations are correct. Let's see, 3 plus 1 carry the 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. But why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right, there's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. Both were right, it's just that they're differently. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can only be one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Why, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait. The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. Indeed, the victim did have a larger number of chips still. Ah, exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points, and the defendant had 4,100. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Yeah! Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? Eek! Order, order. It appears the defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witness's testimony yet. Excuse me, what is it, Miss Orley? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, See what, Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. A cheat? You don't mean a trick. Wait, or do you mean a scam? They're all the same thing. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are. Great, just great. First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. Pretty interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. The last hand, both men had full house. There's 4 of each card in the deck from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argument. The defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand. Poor Mr. Smith. Miss Orley, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelled a cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand, not easy to make in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin? What's a full house? Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker? I can't say this bodes well for your case or career. What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice, you know the terms, 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number makes a pair, and 3 makes 3 of a kind. Good, now picture a hand with 1 pair and 1 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo. Wow, they both have full houses. We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. Ahem, the defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, that leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? Well, have you ever heard of that?
A professional con man losing when he cheats?
Yeah. I don't think so. The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck from ace to king. 4 of each card, you say? There's 1 spade, 1 diamond, 1 heart, and 1 club for each card. It is an interesting fact that this number 4 comes from number of seasons. You don't say. And did you know that the cards are numbered 1 through 13? Add all the cards in a deck and you get 364 a year. You don't say. Isn't that 1 day short? That's why each deck has 2 jokers. They say the second joker stands for the leap year. Thus, you have a perfect representation of the year, all in a deck of cards. You don't say. We're going to be in this courtroom for a year if it keeps going like this. If you look at both men's cheat is more obvious. Tell us why. How is it clear? Well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. A 5th ace? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. And Mr. Wright's 2. Obviously cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say a hand. Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well, the witness will add this detail to her testimony, please. I see the contradiction. It surely ain't. It's 2 aces in each one. It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? Well, she said he has 3 aces.
No, the other one.
Oh, she said that... Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the contradiction. Miss Orley, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces. So that you can clearly see the victim's hand only held 2. Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where's this 5th ace? I see cheating alright, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it, the 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust only your instincts, Mr. Gavin. Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, Perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards? Mr. Payne? Yes? The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards? These cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? Well, if she thought the victim had 3 aces, maybe we should look at that. It was the victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards. Very well, Mr. Payne, if you would. Very well. Well, time's a wasting. Get to it, Justice. Yes, sir. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using every which way and triangle and square to zoom in and out. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. Oh!
So the key is the cheat?
That's interesting. What? Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ack! What was that, Miss Orley? No, niet. I merely said, da, I have eek. Your Honor, Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Ah! Wait, so you mean this witness, Miss Orley, she's the cheater, a professional, I'd wager. Order? Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. I mean, of her mistake. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible, but I put that card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Ooh, we got the corner song! Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean the defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you? Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means I am. The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga Orley, of murder. Oh no, she didn't catch it. Oh, that's convenient. Mr. Payne, where's your witness, Miss Olga Orley? It appears she has lost consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice, Your Honor, it seems you presented a new possibility to the court, one suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means this court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. What? I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries. Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think, one of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous! Mr. Payne, you of all people should know, Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night. That was said before. The 2 decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. You used different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see, but that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Whatever, in the end, one card of the wrong color got into the mix, which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck would indicate cheating, yet this card raises two serious questions. Apollo? Yes? Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think, in the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are three broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was Oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck?
I don't know.
After.
Why?
Because he seemed to put... Before would be the assumption, right? That Mr. Wright was doing it to cheat. He's not going to do it during the murder because he's being murdered. I would say it's after. Perhaps it happened after the murder. What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh, even when the backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah, quite true. That would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. I ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Who would do that? Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? Who? The game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room, alive that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga Orley. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for a blue? Phoenix Wright, Olga Orley, someone else.
I think it's Olga.
Let's go with...
Wow.
Let's start with Olga. Why, it must have been spotted by Olga Orley. She was trying to cover up evidence of the cheating. That does make some sense. Sorry, but there's a problem with that explanation. Huh? The swap card was from the wrong deck. Yes, the blue card was stuck into a red hand. Makes like a card from the wrong deck when the backs are different colors. Remember that you're talking about Olga Orley. She was the dealer. Do you really think she would make such a novice mistake? Actually, I have trouble imagining you mean the judge making that mistake. Give it a little more thought, Apollo. Right. Well, I don't think it was Phoenix.
It's someone else.
The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Wright, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orley either. What are you suggesting? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Orley at this point. Yes, I know, but she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card. And if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Heh. Heh heh heh. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking about how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant, and it wasn't Miss Orley, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that indeed, after the murder, Someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand, and that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong color card, because the one who did the swap didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was the number on the card. Right. The person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, not until now, but you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial had proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident there were only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well, the trial will resume in 20 minutes. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright, to suddenly click. I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you would know the answer to that. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Christoph. Justice? Yes, sir. The judge has summoned me to his chamber, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's a picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago? What I did? It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law. Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley? She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who'd notice that? Words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reading. That's the secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will, soon. Almost forgot. One more thing. About this case? You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it. I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there defending me. I need your power. My, power? I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. The real trial begins now? What the flip are we doing?
I think we should call it.
We should call it?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait a whole week to figure this out.
How much longer do you think it's gonna be?
Well, It's not going to be 10 minutes, I know that much. I mean, we can call it.
How long have we been playing?
I don't know. How long have we been playing?
I should tell you on the recording.
Oh, yeah. 120 minus 15 minutes, so an hour.
Yeah, I think that's sufficient.
Okay. Are you sure you'll remember in a week what we did?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so begins Apollo Justice and his Cords of Steel. And, by the way, Kristoff's hair, does he look like somebody you've seen in this series?
Maya?
Oh, no, not Maya.
Who?
Well, to be honest, you've seen the character, but you haven't used him in a game. Doesn't he look a little bit like Clavier?
Oh, yeah.
Ah. Alrighty. Stopping the broadcast, we are.